Welcome to Wake Up Cricket, powered by Pavilion Picks. We have finally reached 100 subs, and so we have a next target. First of all, we can raise the bat. We have reached a century. The next target is 200. So, like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Get us to 200 subscribers, and welcome to knowing everything about cricket from the day before, because that's exactly what we're going to get into. Everything that's happened in cricket from day before, so that you guys can keep up. So, before we start and before we get on with it, like I said, hit that subscribe button.
And now that we have raised our bat to the century, time to get started with the story, starting with West Indies destroying Zimbabwe. Rampaging Hetmyer spinners sealed West Indies' massive win over Zimbabwe. After Hetmyer and Powell powered West Indies to 254 for 6, Zimbabwe could only muster 147. West Indies went on an unfettered big hitting spree at the Wankhede Stadium, crushing Zimbabwe by 107 runs and sounding out a warning to other title contenders in the 2026 T20 World Cup. Led by turbocharged 50s from Shimron Hetmyer and Rovman Powell, West Indies racked up 254 for 6, the second highest total at a men's T20 World Cup, including 19 sixes. No team has hit more sixes in an innings in the history of the competition. In response, Zimbabwe were all out for only 147, suffering their first loss in this tournament after topping Group B in the lead up to the Super 8.
Yesterday's loss sent shivers down every Indian fan's spine, because not only did they not expect West Indies to win by such a big margin, they didn't expect West Indies to dominate, and that's exactly what happened. But let's talk about the match a little bit. In the first 4 overs, when West Indies were batting, Zimbabwe restricted them for just 29 runs by the end of 4 overs, and in that, Hetmyer also got dropped. He was on 10 when he got dropped, and you would hope that he might just give you another chance, and he did. But he was on 71 when he gave you another chance, and even that was dropped when he finally got dismissed for 80 odd. And yeah, 250 odd runs for West Indies to score is absolute insanity. And for Zimbabwe to then just get bundled out, I mean, bundled out is a bit of an overstatement too, but then get all out, and for West Indies to win the way they did, and then to have an net run rate of more than +5, I think.
Yeah, that's actually
insane.
Yeah, it's insane. We'll get to that a little later as well. But just to put into context, this was one fixture that we really wanted to watch out for. Also, because India is going to be playing these two teams next. And for West Indies to come out and do that, of course, Shea Hope has been playing well through the tournament. But now for Shimron Hetmyer to be firing like this, for Rovman Powell to get those runs, and then Sherfin Rutherford in the end as well, getting 31 of just 13. So the lower and like the middle order and the lower middle order blasting themselves at the Wankhede, and 254 is not something you see every day, especially in this World Cup where there has been a fair amount of talk of the kind of pitches and the fact that Zimbabwe coming into India. In fact, this is the first time they're playing in India in a lot of years. I think it's 24 odd years or something like that. So for this to happen, it means that Zimbabwe is definitely going psychologically on the back foot, but West Indies now are certainly a contender for the title, and that's something to think about.
Yeah, that's true.
What else do we have to think about? Some honest conversations. Du Plessis calls for honest conversations between Babar and Hesson. Faf du Plessis has called for honest conversations between Babar Azam and Pakistan coach Mike Hesson to work out how to maximize Babar's potential in T20 cricket. On the eve of Pakistan's match against New Zealand, which was eventually washed out due to rain, Hesson pointed out Babar's T20 World Cup strike rate in power plays was less than run a ball, and that his best use was through the middle of the innings. Speaking to ESPN Cricinfo's show T20 Timeout, du Plessis called Babar a world-class player, but said the quick evolution of T20 cricket has left him a little bit behind when it comes to scoring rates. For a coach, it's like, listen, these are the numbers. The numbers are suggesting this. This is where the game is at the moment. In order for us to be successful as a team at this World Cup or this tournament, these are the areas that we want to be best in, or the areas where we feel we're perhaps a little bit weak. So we have to address that.
Now, although you are watching this show, I would recommend to check out the show that was mentioned here as well, because there's some good insights on there. Faf has been brilliant on this show. So Shout out to Faf in case he's watching. Of course, he's in. But just to put things into perspective, right now, there's always been conversation around Babar Azam and how he's not been able to keep up with the T20 game, which not a lot of people can blame him for because of firstly the batting lineup that he's surrounded with, but also the fact that T20 cricket in itself has moved forward so quickly.
Yeah.
Strike rate has become such a big factor, and so many batters have become so intent built that it becomes really tough to be able to keep up. But that's what the hallmark of a great batter also is, which means that is Babar Azam great or not? That's a debate for another time. But basically, this whole sort of conversation was around how they can get the best out of Babar Azam while keeping him in the batting lineup, knowing that there is a restriction with him. So I think Mike Hesson really beautifully points out that Babar can still play spin well to a certain degree, and he can get you that 120, 130 strike rate in the middle overs. But it ties back to the fact that he's not even been able to do that, which is why this is a discussion on an honest conversation that needs to be had right now. Very interestingly, way back in 2022, Herschel Gibbs had also pointed this out, that Babar Azam is someone who has struggled to be able to evolve his game. And Herschel Gibbs was very open on Twitter in saying that he does not want to listen to anyone about his batting, especially if they're pointing out flaws. And this is something that you do expect from some of the biggest players.
That is
I mean, they've grown up playing a certain way. It's always worked for them. So why would they listen to a random analyst? But this is what separates the good players from the great players, the ability to continuously evolve and to be able to take feedback. Of course, you're not going to take feedback from every single player, but if someone like Herschel Gibbs is giving you feedback, you would more or less want to take it.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, Babar Azam in the batting lineup is just stubbornness by the Pakistan team and them getting scared of dropping him. It's just, that is what it is.
And that was also evident in the way he reacted when Steve Smith denied him that single. That thing about the feedback. All right, then moving on to the next story, which is on Jammu and Kashmir and Karnataka. Jammu and Kashmir, history. Karnataka chase 9th Ranji title. More than 4 months since the opening game of the 2025-26 Ranji Trophy season, two teams stand at the finish line. In one lane are first-timers Jammu and Kashmir, who have stepped into uncharted territory and defied odds time and again. They are now just one step away from a maiden title. In the other are Karnataka, who have been there and done that and made it to the final 14 times and won it 8 times. It's been nothing short of a fairy tale season for Jammu and Kashmir, who have brushed aside heavyweights including Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, and Bengal. Their season began with a 35-run defeat to Mumbai, but that has been their only blip. They defeated MP in a close quarterfinals by 56 runs before going past Bengal by 6 wickets despite conceding a first innings lead. Karnataka, meanwhile, have survived stutters and would not have been here but for a sensational 5-wicket win over Punjab, where they chased 250 in 28 overs in fading Mohali light. Since reaching the knockouts, however, Karnataka have been unstoppable.
I think it's also because Karnataka is in the final and we are in Karnataka. The hype for the Ranji final has been immense. There has been a lot of videos of the teams landing in Hubli. There's been a lot of videos of them training. And there are a lot of people talking about the Ranji Trophy final, not only because it's in Karnataka, but it's also because, like we already talked about, it's Jammu and Kashmir's first ever final. It was the first ever semi-final and then the first ever final. There's so much to look forward to in this final, especially because Karnataka's batters have been in immense form. 4 or 5 of their batters average more than 50. Whereas when you look at Jammu and Kashmir's bowling lineup, they have been in great form too. Aqib Nabi being the second highest wicket taker in this season with an average of 10.
10
Yeah, 10. So it's the fact that it's almost Jammu and Kashmir's bowlers versus Karnataka's batters. But there is a concern for JNK, and that's the fact that there are some players who will be injured and may not make it to the squad. Reminder that the match does start at 9:30 a.m. So we are an hour and a half away from this first ball itself. But there will be a concern for the Karnataka bowlers as well. Is the fact that they haven't picked up a lot of wickets with the greatest of averages. It's always been a team effort and good on them. But if a bowler or two doesn't step up, and if the JNK batters can get a big score, especially Abdul Samad, who's the only batter from the squad who averages more than 50, then there will be a concern for Karnataka. But all that being said, truth be told, we spoke about this in the quarterfinal, we spoke about this in the semi-final as well. Karnataka shouldn't find a reason to lose. I mean, it's their title to win. It's in their home ground. They've played in these grounds for so long. They've played under these weather conditions, the pitch conditions, so it shouldn't be a problem for them. I will be shocked if Jammu and Kashmir wins. I'll be happy for them, but I will be shocked because Karnataka in this, especially with the star-studded lineup that they have, they're real favorites.
True. There's really nothing more to add. We have 5 seconds.
Damn, I didn't
Go
realize.
Karnataka.
I didn't realize I went on for this long.
So we already have the predictions or the loyalties very evident there. Moving on to the next story, which is Mooney takes the gloves. Mooney to take gloves with Healy in field for farewell. Beth Mooney would be ushered in as Australia's new full-time wicketkeeper, with Alyssa Healy to be moved into the field for a farewell series against India. With Australia 4-2 down on points in the multi-format series after being beaten in the T20 component, the retiring Healy will return to captain the side for Tuesday's first ODI in Brisbane. The Allen Border Field clash will kick off a fortnight-long farewell tour for Healy, with 2 more ODIs in Hobart and a final test at the WACA next month. The 35-year-old has been Australia's first-choice wicketkeeper since 2014, having claimed a world record 275 dismissals across all formats. But she has not kept wicket since the end of the WBBL, acting as a fielder for New South Wales while playing in the WNCL. It's expected she will still open the batting in the 3 ODIs.
Awesome. So Alyssa Healy has been one of the legends of the game. And it's a very interesting story, right? Because when she started off, of course, she started off really young. She made her debut when she was about 19 for the Australian team. Was a wicketkeeper, but didn't immediately start off as a wicketkeeper because there was already someone else, and she had to wait her chance to get that batter wicketkeeper role. But if you look at her batting records, if you just pick up like how she's done in her first 50 odd ODIs and 80 odd T20Is, she averaged less than 20. In fact, I'd want to say it was around 15, 16. I don't remember the exact number.
Terrible numbers.
Horrible numbers. And the added fact that she was Australian, and for her to still get so many chances meant that at some point you would hope she came good, and that eventually happened with her in her career when they decided to send her on top of the order to open the innings. That's where she sort of found her mojo and realized that this is what works for her, because post that her record's been brilliant. I think after a point in 2017, after the 2017 World Cup loss, in fact, to Harmanpreet Kaur's brilliant innings, is when a lot of changes happened in that Australian system. Everything was revamped. And since then, she got 7 ODI 100, 16 50s, averaging 45, striking at 100 plus. So Alyssa Healy, in that sense, and now if you look back, has had a career of 2 halves, but the second half is what has really pushed her into legend status. In fact, we were looking at what is going to happen in this tour in terms of a farewell for her. And at the WACA, there is this hill that is going to be named the Healy Hill for the test match itself as a tribute to Alyssa Healy, which I think is a really nice touch from Cricket Australia. But I feel like she wanted to retire after Australia won the World Cup, but it's not panned out for her, unfortunately. And now India, they seem to be shedding water on all of the plans because they won the T20I series. They're heading into this ODI series as champions. So yeah, for Alyssa Healy's sake, you would hope that Australia can win, but we all know where our loyalties lie.
Yeah, it's quite weird because she might be the only Australian captain without a World Cup.
Oh, that is true.
Which is also unfortunate.
Indeed, unfortunate. But we did see some gritty knocks coming from her willow in the recently concluded World Cup that happened last year, in fact. And apart from that century in the finals against England in the 2022 edition of the World Cup. Moving on to Indian franchise bias question. Sahibzada Farhan, hopeful of 100 call amid uncertainty around Pakistani involvement. Sahibzada Farhan called the 100 one of the best leagues, which he thought and was hopeful of playing in, even as the ECB faces scrutiny over whether the league's new Indian investors will implement an IPL-style shadow ban on Pakistani players. Farhan, who is among more than 950 players to have registered for the hundreds auction in March, has listed his base price as US dollar 67,500. His T20 star has risen exponentially over the past 6 months after stellar showing at the T20 Asia Cup last year, as well as the ongoing T20 World Cup, where he is the tournament's highest scorer. But Farhan's involvement at the 100 could potentially be complicated by the ownership structure of the teams, with 4 IPL teams involved. That is Mumbai Indians, MI London, Lucknow Super Giants, Manchester Super Giants, Sunrisers Hyderabad, Sunrisers Leeds, and Delhi Capitals Southern Brave.
Now, before we are serious about the topic itself, for Sahibzada Farhan to call 100 the best league in itself is problematic. First of all, that is a league in his own country, and second, 100 being one of the best leagues. If you think 100 is one of the best leagues, that in itself is a problem. The men's 100 is losing money every single year, which is also why this had to happen in the first place. If anything, that 100 was doing so well for the women's game. Yeah, but the men's game, they weren't making any money. But right, let's be serious for a second. We have talked about this. We have touched upon this about Pakistan players and how they might not be bought by the Indian owned teams because of them being Pakistani players. Now, a lot of people have issued warning regarding this. I mean, the laws in England don't even allow this, and they have very, very strict anti-discriminatory laws, not just for cricket, but just laws and labor laws in general. And yeah, the government themselves have issued a warning, and then the ECB themselves have issued a warning. And I will be shocked if any of this happens. I think there's just talks and conversations to make a lot of Indians happy, and I put that in quotes because not because they're not Indians, but just to make them happy, kind of thing. But I don't, but I don't think that can happen or will happen, because not only is it against the laws, why buy a team in another country if you're going to do this to begin with? So I don't even think it makes sense. But yeah, for him to call 100 the best league, yeah, that's a bit of a joke.
I mean, that's when you know that he's targeting a big price tag in the 100 because he wants to make sure he's there. But yeah, there's not really too much more to add except for the fact that it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out, because essentially if this ends up going the way of the franchisees and you're able to see a clear discrimination against...
Assuming so.
Yeah, assuming so. Then it just becomes so much discourse. Once again, PCB is going to want to step in and pull some kind of action there, as they did in the World Cup.
Yeah, the government themselves will step into and take some action. So hopefully not for the sake of cricket.
Now, this discourse started because apparently some agents were informed that their Pakistani players could only be picked by the franchises that did not have IPL team owners. All right, then. So, meme time. And well, under the meme section, what is it that we have? Here we go.
I think this is a slap in the face to every single Indian fan out there. This is not going to take 3 minutes. Unless you want to look at this for 3 minutes and realize that your side that was expected to win the T20 World Cup might not even be making the semi-final. And yeah, it's just a really sad state of affairs, because after one game, you can see the differences in net run rate because of how extreme the games have been. For West Indies to go up plus 5.3 is huge burden for India. Because
no, I was just going to say, for starters, South Africa the Indian fans would need to hope that South Africa beats West Indies, then India beats West Indies. See, it's not done yet, right? The net run rate, of course, is a conversation. You would hope that South Africa do beat West Indies, then you would hope that India do beat West Indies. If India lose another game, then they just don't deserve to go. But yeah, you would hope that this happens. But more than that, India deserves this. First of all, if you drop your vice captain from the squad, thinking about a random ass, I apologize for the language, for the random combination, you deserve this. You make team selections like this, you deserve this. You play on a pitch where you were evidently playing very, very early as batters and still lose your wicket playing early. Well, you deserve this. So there's nothing to be said.
Well, you can clearly see two hurt Indian fans here, mostly just hurt on the decisions out there. And yeah, man, I wish I could add more stuff to it, but the points table is very clear. All games are going to be crucial. India will hope that they can at least beat West Indies and Zimbabwe. For starters, just beat them and then hope that they can do it by bigger margins. And the rest, I mean, if it's a World Cup that India is meant to win, then they will. Else, we might see Gautam Gambhir possibly in the firing line.
Interestingly.
No, go on.
No, interestingly, all three Super 8 matches have been extremely lopsided. It was only when these full member nations were up against associate teams that they were struggling and there were close matches, cliffhangers. So
that is true. Talking about lopsided matches, we might possibly see one of them today when England take on Pakistan, a fixture that's always interesting to me in ICC World Cups because of whatever history that they've had. Yeah, as Pakistan, England, a match to watch out for. Joss Butler's form, he has been in the most terrible form that you could possibly imagine. So would he score some runs today is something for you guys to watch out for. And then for something for us to talk about tomorrow. So join us back at 8 a.m. to talk about everything that's happened in cricket so far. Get us to 200 subs. Did I say 150? Or 200 subs. Let's just say 200. Get us to 200 subs. And yes, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.